Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Men's Garage. So behind me we've got a 1969 VF Valiant 770. Now this car here, it's actually my uncle and my cousin's car. This has been sitting in the garage for a couple of years. It's got a few issues that need attention, and I've offered to give a hand to do a bit of work on this car, see if we can get it back on the road. This car was built, Jesus, like 30 years ago. As a kid, I remember helping out when this was in the garage, you know, getting underneath the dash and thinking I was helping. I don't know if I really was or not, but yeah, I remember standing around watching and learning and playing around with old cars. Valiants have been in my family for a very long time. A VF Valiant's probably one of my favorite cars. So I really want to see this thing this summer get back on the road. So yeah, I've offered a little bit of time to see if we can figure out what's going on with this thing. Seems like it's got overheating issues. So today what we're going to do is we're just going to check compression on the engine. We're going to check combustion to see if there's any combustion getting into the cooling system. So we're just going to check that, make sure there's not a head gasket issue or a cracked head, cracked block, something like that. Check timing, make sure timing's all good, and see if we can figure out this overheating issue. If not, we're going to pull the engine and go through the engine and see if we can figure out what's going on with it. But today's just going to be a startup video, checking the things that I've just mentioned, and maybe pulling it out the garage, giving it a good wash, and yeah, go from there. Alright, so this car probably hasn't started in a good few years. So what I've done is I've just got a jumper pack. Hopefully it's got enough crank in it to start the car or to crank it over. I've disconnected spark from the engine, so I'm going to crank the engine over, make sure we get oil pressure, make sure we get fuel, whatever. And then I'll connect the crank up or the spark up, and yeah, see if we can fire up. Alright, so I think that we've got oil pressure, which is good. Fuel pressure, it's not really anything, but I think this gauge is a bit iffy, it's cracked and whatever, so don't know if that's going to work. I'm just going to connect up spark now, maybe put some fuel down the carby, and yeah, see what happens. This spark plug lead's actually broken, so that's not too good. Let's see if that works still. Alright, let's take this air cleaner off, which is just sitting on there. Here we have the special sauce, liquid gold in here, which will fire up the car straight away. Shit! Alright, so this jump pack needs to go on charge. We'll get a battery from somewhere to try and start this thing up. Alright, take two. We just pulled the battery out of my cousin's Corolla. So we'll connect this up with a jump pack and hopefully we've got enough cranking juice. Alright, fingers crossed. Wow, so I wasn't really expecting it to crank that easy, and the engine actually sounds really good. It hasn't got any lifter noise or anything, which is pretty surprising for an engine that probably hasn't been started in 2 or 3 years. So yeah, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get it to run, warm up a little bit. I'm just gonna take it outside, give it a quick wash before you actually start work on it, because there's cobwebs and spiders and stuff all over it. So yeah, I'll quickly do that and then we'll come back to the video. Good oil pressure, she's still warming up, but idling pretty good for something that hasn't been started in a few years. So first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take off all the spark plugs, take out all the spark plugs. We want to check to see what sort of compression the engine's got. So just remove all the leads, all the spark plugs, and then I'll get my compression test tool and check over all the cylinders. Don't know if we can focus that well, but these spark plugs probably need a change. They've probably been in there for a number of years. Alright, we'll start. Which one are you going to do first? This one. Doesn't really matter, but do you want to get a pen and paper? You can write this down, or
pen and paper?
It doesn't really matter. It's up to you.
Well, we should write it down anyway, yeah?
Yeah, you can. Alright, so what we've done here is I've pulled out a spark plug. I've got my gauge going into where the spark plug usually goes. What we're going to do is we're going to crank over the car, and the gauge here is going to tell us how much PSI is inside the cylinder. And then we check all the cylinders, see if we've got, you know, any differences with any of the cylinders. If there's one low, or, you know, if they're all the same, then that means that it's a good engine. Give her a few cranks. Yeah, just keep cranking it. Yeah. 125. Yep. Yep. 125. Yep. 125. Yep. Yep. 125. Yep. Yep. 125. Lucky last. Yep. Beautiful.
Bloody beautiful, mate.
Right,
1.5.
so, yeah, yeah. Good compression on all cylinders, all even.
It's because it's a Mopar.
Mopa.
Not bad for 32 years, eh?
32-year-old engine, mate.
How many miles has it got on it? 2,931 miles, mate.
So in 30 years, 2,930 miles. Is that correct? Hey,
Yo,
is that correct?
32 years.
32
I
years.
was 4 years old when we started the build.
In 32 years, this car's done, what is it, 2,930?
Yeah, 31.
Alright, let's fire her up. Just make sure that we've got those two leads on the driver's side the right way around. Purring like a kitten. Alright, so we've done our compression test. Compression's good. What I've got here is this combustion leak test. So pretty much what this here does is we take off the radiator cap. This sits into the radiator. We put some of this blue fluid in there, into where it has this line here, and then basically when we sit into the radiator, we put this little squeezy bowl on it. Sorry about my camera angle. And then we pretty much just suck air into this this little chamber, and if it changes green or yellow, then there's combustion getting into, or gases getting into your cooling system. If it stays blue, then you know that your engine hasn't got any combustion getting into the cooling system. So we'll get started on that now. Alright, so like I said, we've got our blue liquid stuff in there. We're going to start the car. It should fill up a little bit of coolant in here while the car's running. Squeeze this a few times. You can see how it sucks air into the top section where we've got our fluid. And yeah, if that's, well, you can see the fluid already start coming up. But if that changes color, then we know that yeah, we've got a combustion leak. You got a combustion leak. Really? Yep. Yep, switch it off. Alright mate, so you've either got a head gasket, cracked head, cracked block, something's happening because you're getting combustion gases getting into the cooling system, and that's probably what's causing overheating issue. Alright, so while we're here, we're just going to check timing, see what timing's at, go start her up. So as you would have seen, I was just trying to check the timing, but I couldn't even see a timing mark on the harmonic balancer. And as I was speaking to my cousin just here, he said to me that last time this was at a mechanic that it had 2 degrees retarded on the cam. So the cam's not even in top dead center correctly, which is another issue why this thing could be overheating. So pretty much we're just going to start pulling this thing down and checking over the engine, finding if it's got a cracked head or head gasket or some sort of issue like that, and maybe check rings, bearings, and see if it needs rings, bearings, and probably maybe get it all pressure tested, make sure there's no cracks in the block or anything, and yeah, throw it all back together, and hopefully it should be sweet. So catch you on the next one, guys. Thank you, and see you later.